I want to show you all the moment that Trump's DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was shown a montage of videos of ICE using a reckless amount of force, including one video in which a family trying to get home from their son's basketball game in Minneapolis found themselves in between protesters and ICE, and their 6-month-old baby ended up breathing in tear gas and had to be administered CPR. An infant had to be administered CPR because of ICE's reckless use of force. So now we've seen all ages, from a 6-month-old baby to a 79-year-old getting their rib cracked to 72-year-old protesters getting pepper sprayed. Everybody in between being abused. Both citizens and non-citizens, people who are immigrants, are still being deported without due process. We need to have some standards. We need to be following the law. I'm okay with getting criminal thugs off of the street, but that includes criminal thugs with a badge and a gun, people who are using a reckless amount of force to target people who are innocent. If we were targeting the person who killed 19-year-old Laken Riley and he's like a gang member who is here illegally, sure, that's fine. But that is not what is happening. ICE has used so much reckless force that we have hundreds of videos of U.S. citizens being thrown to the ground and being abused. We'll talk about that as Kristi Noem gets exposed, as Kristi Noem gets confronted. Make sure you drop a like to help support the Adam Mockler feed, help boost the message, and let's bring it back here. Margaret Brennan from CBS's Face the Nation, who kind of plays a bit too much into the both sides stuff throughout this interview, does begin to press Kristi Noem and says, what's the breakdown of the percentage of those in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense? This perfectly proves the point that I was trying to make.
Sure, but you just said millions. What's the breakdown of the percentage of those who you have in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense versus just the civil infraction?
Good question. Good question.
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you guys keep changing your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts, is that 70%.
We've been citing the numbers from her own DHS. The reports from her own DHS show that it's not 70%.
Of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what President Trump has charged them with.
Okay, well, our reporting is that 47%, based on your agency's own numbers, 47% have criminal convictions against them. But let's talk about the other numbers.
You're wrong again. Absolutely. We'll get you the correct numbers so you can use them in the future.
Well, that's
all right. Kristi Noem starts off the interview very smug and very wrong. It gets worse and worse, but just to go back to reality, the DHS figures obtained by CBS News show nearly 67,000 of the individuals in ICE custody on Thursday were single adult detainees facing deportation because of alleged violations of U.S. immigration law. Another 6,000 detainees were classified as family units, meaning parents and underage children taken into custody as families for alleged immigration violations. At the bottom, the internal DHS data coming from Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security indicates roughly 47%, or about 34,000 of ICE's detainees, had criminal charges or convictions in the U.S. The reason why this is important is because it gets to the heart of where ICE is allocating their funds. If they're allocating their funds towards hitting some daily quota set by Stephen Miller of 3,000 detainees per day, that is why we are seeing the streets being terrorized with people who are emboldened to just ramp up the numbers. That's not what people voted for. Precision matters in this scenario. Then Kristi Noem gets really weird about Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who we know his name, we know his face. He murdered Renee Nicole Good, but Kristi Noem treats him like he's in Secret Service protection or like he's Voldemort, like don't utter his name. How dare you say that? She clutches her pearls. Take a look.
Criminals to justice and letting people still express their First Amendment rights.
Well, you know that it is in dispute about weaponizing a car versus driving forward, but I'll put that aside.
No, it's really
Tell
not.
me about,
Everybody can watch the videos and see that.
well, let me talk to you about the officer, Jonathan Ross. He was struck. He was hospitalized.
Oh, don't say his name. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we shouldn't have people continue to dox law enforcement when they have an 8,000% increase in death threats against them. I know, but that doesn't mean it should continue to be said. His life, he got attacked with a car that was trying to take his life.
He got it.
And then people have attacked him and his family, and they are in jeopardy. And we have law enforcement officers every day.
Every time I'm trying to attack someone with my car, I first reverse it back and then spin the wheel and then try to drive forward. Yeah, well, I could just drive forward. Why would I reverse back? I'm talking about Renee Nicole Good. I'm sorry, but Kristi Noem's pearl clutching in this clip, like how dare you say his name? How dare you utter his name? It's just too funny to me. He's some washed up dude who decided to become an ICE agent. Now, Kristi Noem is then confronted about a 6-month-old child who had to be given CPR and resuscitated because the parents were driving home from a game and they got caught up between protesters and ICE. Her callous response is insane. Take a listen.
Acknowledge that. I want to talk to you about some of the incidents that the public has seen. There was a U.S. citizen, Aliyah Rahman, on her way to a medical appointment out in Minneapolis. She was dragged out of her car and detained. Video of her arrest was spreading on social media. There were allegations there of aggressive tactics. You've seen other incidents, for example, out in Minneapolis, this family with 6 children, with one as young as 6 months old, got kind of caught in the incident as they were driving to basketball practice. The mother, Destiny Jackson, told CBS ICE agents stopped the car, told them to leave, but the agents were in the way, and they feared that they would have happened to them what happened to Renee Good. They didn't drive off. ICE released a canister of tear gas, and the mother described giving her infant CPR. We're showing that video there. Do any of these tactics seem to you heavy-handed?
That family was caught up in that situation because of violent protesters that were impeding law enforcement operations. And that family would have never been in that situation if those protesters had been acting peacefully and law enforcement was able to do their job without being threatened. And so it's a terrible situation that family had to go through, and I hope it never happens again. But we need to remember that because the mayor and the governor have allowed this kind of violence to be
Can I just point out, this is the problem. This is why people are protesting, because Kristi Noem, people like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump think ICE can do no wrong. I have a debate coming out on my channel later today with Michael Knowles, so make sure you're ready for that. Make sure you have post notifications on and you're subscribed. It's a debate about Renee Nicole Good, about the shooting, about ICE, about Venezuela, and a few other things at a bar. It's a bar fight debate. And in it, I say, you guys can never concede that ICE ever does anything wrong. And that's the main problem here. Again, they can't concede that ICE is using disproportionate force. We even have reports that they aren't ideologically screening people before they sign them up for ICE, which is absolutely insane. It means far right people can go to ICE, apply, get a job, and then just go mask up and abuse people in the streets and use disproportionate force. We have on video a 6-month-old child needing to be resuscitated, and Kristi Noem can't even admit anything happened.
Perpetuated across Minneapolis is why there's other innocent people that are impacted throughout the city, but throughout their state as well. And it doesn't have to be this way. They could establish a peaceful protest zone. They could enforce their laws. And if Governor Walz didn't recognize that what he is doing there is poor leadership, he wouldn't have put his National Guard on standby in order to respond.
This isn't targeted. We just illustrated with the DHS's own numbers that they are not being precise whatsoever. They are trying to up their numbers to some arbitrary 3,000 a day that Stephen Miller set, and it's leading to stuff like this. That is the main point that we are making throughout this video. And you know what? I want to show you how Kristi Noem gets pressed even further, but something that pissed me off is Mayor Jacob Frey came on to Face the Nation right after, and they used the precious time to confront him on why he said occupying force. Like, Donald Trump literally called for the Insurrection Act to be initiated. Donald Trump is investigating Mayor Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, and Elon Musk is calling for Ilhan Omar to be put down, like put to death. That's what he said, basically. He said treason. He said she should be given the punishment for treason, which is death. So this says, I can confirm active duty soldiers with the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska were given prepare to deploy orders last week. Donald Trump is ready to initiate the Insurrection Act and sic U.S. troops onto the city of Minneapolis. The orders were given prior to the president's comments Friday en route to Florida, suggesting he had not yet decided to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota. This is important because why the hell are we talking to Mayor Jacob Frey about his language when there's actual on-the-ground shit happening?
Well, you said occupying force. Don't you think it's a bit much?
I mean, look, you can go through whatever rhetorical flourish you want, but when you have 3,000 ICE agents and border control come to the city, when you've got this supposed threat of 1,500 military coming to the city.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very much what it feels like. When
Yep.
you outnumber local police officers 5 and 6 to 1, that is the vibe. And so the bottom line is, if the goal were safety, this is not how you get there. If the goal
Right.
is safety, I can give you a very antidote to some of the violence that we're seeing, and it's have them leave.
Well,
I really, really like the way Mayor Jacob Frey asserts himself and doesn't relent. I mean, he keeps going on the news and they keep trying to press him. Aren't you going a little bit too hard? And he's like, no, I'm sorry if I'm offending you, but this is bad. And I really find that to be satisfying. Someone that doesn't just write letters, you know, someone that actually goes out there and says it how it is. Margaret Brennan gets back to pressing Kristi Noem.
And I'm hopeful that he does recognize that he needs to start working with us. I have
Are your agents
asked him
going to
I know
comply
the
with
White
the-
House has asked him to.
sorry, with the federal order on Friday to not use chemical agents?
That federal order was a little ridiculous because that federal judge came down and told us we couldn't do what we already aren't doing. We
just saw
have not,
video of chemical
engaged
agents
in
being used.
We only use those chemical agents when there's violence happening and perpetuating, and you need to be able to establish law and order to keep people safe. That's the only situation. So that judge's order didn't change anything for how we're operating on the ground, because it's
She said they're not using this type of force whatsoever, like it's disproportionate no matter what. Then she justified using it on peaceful protesters. Absurd, disgusting, we are not going to let it fly. Make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed. Drop a blue heart if you made it this far. I love you all. Peace out.